Hi, my name is David Drayton. I'm glad that you guys came over to my talk. I'm pretty excited. I had a lot of water, so I'm gonna rush because I have to pee afterwards. Today, hold on, that was way too fast. Today we're gonna talk about 10 easy steps. It's not gonna be a talk about how those medium articles you're gonna read on the web. It's more about the things I've learned in the last 10 to 15 years about animation, or so to say, in the last year perhaps. The older you get, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the more you know that you don't know anything at all. So let's start with the first tip. I had this yesterday, and I call it "Tangents are your friends." Who of you already animated in the past? Wow, not so many. You have to animate much more. Not kidding. What does it mean? When we take a look at this image right there, we're going to see a tangent. It's math. I always was very shitty in math. Nevertheless, I started being more interested in mathematics, and a tangent actually is about mathematics. So when you animate things, everything you start animating should always have a smooth tangent. It should always have a nice curve. Nothing in reality moves suddenly, stops suddenly, or begins suddenly. Everything moves with an ease. You ever heard the term easy ease in Adobe After Effects? Yeah, I see people nodding. If you use that, that's cool. But you should always consider the graph editor in Adobe After Effects. It's much better. Nothing, I already said this, nothing accelerates in real life from 0 to 100 in instant, because that would break your neck if you would sit in a car. It doesn't stop from 100 kilometers per hour to 0, because that will throw you out the window in your car. So consider having real values, using graphs, using tangents. These are your friends, and you really want to use them. They're going to make your life so much easier, believe me. Make math a part of your life. I said it before, I've never been good at math. That's why I'm a designer. Math is not for me. But still, there's some minor things and some little things where I use math a lot, especially when it comes to vector calculations. No, vectors, oh my gosh. What did he say? Just by calculating movement in my animations, it can help if you have knowledge. You don't have to have deep knowledge. If you have like 30% knowledge and know what it does and what it means, makes you a much better animator. Number 9. Oh my God, this is my nemesis. Last year I couldn't say orchestrate. If some of you have been to my talk last year, it was a nightmare. I was sweating like hell up here because I couldn't say orchestrate. Orchestrate. So whenever you, yay! Thank you. So what does it mean? If you ever seen animations and you feel that something is organized, well organized, then there was, so to speak, a maestro on the other side conducting that scene for you, for your viewing pleasure. It was precisely planned by the designer or the animator, determine what should appear first on the stage, what should come last, which is the most important information and which is the least important information. It was carefully conducted, designed, thoughtful. So try to be the maestro, take your stick into your hand, swing it where you have to have subtle animations, be more uprising to get more attention. Always have this in mind. It's a nice picture that can help you to create better, more meaningful animations. Good animations and, of course, orchestration will lead to better orientation. What does it mean? It means that users the way you orchestrate it will give users more orientation throughout the entire application. This means if you tell that elements exit or moves onto the stage in a certain manner and you stick to your paradigms, people would always know where things belong, which is a really good thing. And this leads to one of the most important things that we designers try to give our users is we want to give them confidence. We want to give them confidence while interacting with our applications. Nobody wants a user sitting in front of your application and always thinking, when I start the app, I can't remember what the hell I'm doing here. They always want to have confidence in what they are seeing. Animation can be a big part of it because they will always know where things go. They don't suddenly disappear. They will always have a path will you remember. I remember Matthias, where are you? Nidoba, where are you? Somewhere in here? He just talked about complex systems. And he said, and I remember very well when he showed a picture of the goldsmith. It's almost something like that, because a goldsmith always can blindly grab his tools and he knows where they are. It's the same thing with animation. If things coming on the stage and they're always in the same spot, it will give you confidence in what you do, over how the way you interact with your application. Think of a persona for your animation. I can't stress this enough. There was also a topic of my last year's speak. I'm trying to preach it wherever I go. Not only you will have personas per se for your application, we all know that, but also think of personas more of, let's say, a character of a movie. A good character tells the story by the way it interacts, by the way it acts, by the way it's on stage, by its presence, by its color, by its motion, by its emotions. And the same thing is with animations. Whether you animate something for, let's say, a financial app, you be more subtle because you don't want to have some fancy animations telling you that you just wasted $5 billion on a transaction. It's not what you want. Therefore, you can use a different character, or you can mix-match different characters within an application. I have to be careful. You can mix-match different characters within an application. Say, if you throw an error message, which is important, or you want to give an urgent information that you maybe destroy something or delete something, this animation could be much more aggressive than the one that is showing you like a toast message that everything is okay. The toast message would have a different character. So your animation should be like good character animation in a blockbuster movie, because then you can identify those characters pretty easily. It also helps to communicate the art of motion within your team. We always talk about the users. Yes, they're important, but we are also important on our side. And if you're working in a large organization and you have a clear vision of how the animation should be, and you have bigger teams, then an animation persona or animation character sheet can help you to communicate what exactly you want from the animator or from the developer. And last but not least, elements can have different characters. This is what I said earlier. A toast message should always be more subtle. It could be like something like her, like, hey, everything is safe. And if you're, let's say, you have more or less a kiddie app that's like, hey, achievement, yes, it's full of joy, then you want to see that in your animations too. Well, don't talk about anger. We don't want this. Number 7, learn animation theory. Yes, go back to school. Learn the theory of animation. In most talks I give, I've talked about animation theory. It's because it's important. It's like having like knowing the usability standards, or knowing color theory. We also want to learn animation theory. And there are 2 things, and this is something I can't stress enough. There are 2 beautiful books that I always can suggest. It's by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, The Illusion of Life. These guys, this is the holy Bible for animation. And we're not only looking at character animation, we can also transfer a lot of those principles into UI animation. The other book, and this is where my career more or less in animation skyrocketed a little more, is the other book on the right side. It's called The Animation Survival Kit. It's because it's illustrating motion itself. It gives timings, it gives walk cycle ideas, it gives, if you don't have an idea where to start or how fast your animation be, just copy paste those frame values you will find in that book and it would automatically look hot. I promise, it's really cool. So go back to the drawing board, get your theory right, read The Illusion of Life. It's very entertaining. And the other book, The Animator Survival Kit, will help you to skyrocket your animation skills. I'm not kidding. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you just copy-paste and it will look really cool. Of course, not everything, but most of it. Number 6, observe your environment. It's what I'm doing constantly. I think every good designer is doing it every time, every second, every minute of their life. They're observing their environment. Maybe not if you're sleeping, but I would say if you're awake is what you do. You always look into the face of the other people and see what they think, the way they behave. Is it a boring talk, or is it exciting? I can't see you because the light is too bright, so don't worry. But constantly, I'm still looking around and trying to see how open you are to receive the words I'm speaking to you. And this is something, a gift that every designer should, I think every designer has, because that leads to empathy, and empathy leads to really good user experience, for example, and to good animations. So there are several things you should have a clear focus, because characters can be subdivided into subcategories, like what is their behavior? Are they aggressive? Are they talk active? Are they passive? Are they scared? Interaction. How do people interact with each other? It's like, hey, what's up? Hey, buddy, give me 5. Yay. Or it's like, hi. Hey, it's nice to meet you, man. You know, different interactions, or the way that people interact with the ticket machine. Like, oh my God, give me my money back. Everything, all those things, if you have a closer look, can give you valuable information about how the human being interacts with each other. Communication. Oh, I think it's the oldest topic ever, the way we communicate, whether it was the caves of the caveman drawing stuff, or nowadays we are talking via an internet connection with other people that always crashes and never really works. But the way we communicate gives us an in-depth look on how people or how characters behave. And of course, take a look at the motion. Gladly, we're now we have fall, it's getting cold, and a very good thing that you can see if you go outside is that the birds are going. It's like, fuck off, winter, I want to go somewhere else where it's warm, I want to get my Bermuda shorts on. That behavior, when they fly around, is called flocking. It's also a term that you can find in computer animation quite a lot. There's like one leader and all the other swarm is following along. It gives a nice motion. Sometimes they also form patterns, which are beautiful. This is really, it's a gift. It's a blessing to see stuff like that. So always have an open eye in your environment. And next time you see a swarm of birds, mind my words, it could help you to make some sort of swarming animation along your cursor or whatever where it's useful. Number 5, always add physical attributes to your animation. Oh, yeah, I forgot an R. I found it for you, so here's an R missing. See, copy-paste. It's missing there as well. Anyway, we always try to add physical values to our animation, because we all know that how the physical world works, even though we can't explain it with mathematics, or we always have been bad in physical lectures. It doesn't matter. We know how it works because we live in this environment. These physical rules apply for everything on Earth. I say on Earth. It may be different on the moon, but on Earth it applies for everything and for everybody, whether it's the worm or it's a human being or it's the ticket machine. Everything is influenced. So when I talk about weight, I always want to express that there are things that are more lighter than others. If you apply weight to an object, you can give the audience or the user, in our case, who interacts with the application, a certain weight to their action. The next would be velocity. A point that I can't stress enough. You saw this with the tangents at the very beginning of my speech. Nothing starts immediately. There's always a certain velocity, whether it's very fast or it's very slow, but nothing starts immediately. Everything has to bounce the rules of, are connected to the rules of physics, and at this point it's velocity. Not this force, of course. There are different forces. Where I'm talking about the force the impact you have, things that are impacting each other. How much force can I apply? People, who has an iPhone? Come on, you're designers. You should all have an iPhone, right? So all the others didn't raise their hands, also have an iPhone. And remember Force Touch that was done by Apple, where they said if you press the screen harder, you're applying a certain amount of pressure to the glass, to your iPhone, and you can invoke different interaction with your phone. I thought it was pretty cool, even though I don't have an iPhone, but I think it was really cool because the law of physics applied as well here, and it was animated. The further you press down on your screen, the more that your eye open up to you as a user, which was pretty cool. And the last thing, if you're getting old, things trying to fall down because we're pulled down by gravity. The belly is starting to sag down to earth. They're all going to pull us down. Okay, I will stop here. But gravity is something that will keep us grounded. It will give us a solid point of view. It will always give us a solid base. Gravity influences us all on Earth. Number 4, name your stuff. I saw something at Matthias' speech as well. I think there's a common sense. Everybody knows this layer is right there. It's a nightmare. Why is this a UI animation tip? Because if you are the owner of a Photoshop file and you have to animate it and somebody gives you this, oh my God, you will start crying because you're going to work all night trying to rename things, trying to find things. You will stick around. You're going to be in After Effects crying like a baby because you have to give your animation to the client the next day. So please, I beg you, in the name of the Lord, give it a name. Give your layers reasonable names. What could that be? It could be, for example, mask slider. Easy. It's a 2-second task. Just type in mask slider. Everybody know what it means. And if not, they can imagine about what you're talking about. Drop-down list table. It gives you like an orientation. It says it's a drop-down. It's a list within a table or at the area of the table or something like that. Makes your lives and the lives of the guy who has to animate it much easier. And always save incremental versions. Oh my God. Let me tell you this. I remember when I worked for Maxim Computer and I had a large project with the company. We researched on some cool stuff. And I made my designs. Back in the days, I used Balsamic. You ever heard of this tool? It's like a paper prototyping tool. I think it was really cool. And I was saved all day, and I saved. And it's like, oh my God. And then I tried to undo, but there's a certain undo amount of limit. There's a limit, right? So you start undoing stuff, and you will never get back to the version that you thought was cool, because most of the time, the initial idea is the best one. So, well, I had to do it all over again. What I mean by incremental, you just save it as version .001. And if you save an incremental version of it, it will automatically save as 002. It doesn't give you a timestamp, but saving incremental could save you a lot of work. You just have to remember it, especially in animation when you're trying out stuff. You say, let's say I want to have this motion right there going from left to right with a really strong force and a hard impact. Version 001. But before I start making it slower and showing it to the customer, I will save 002 and then start experimenting. Because if it fails, I lost that version. And I lost a certain amount of hours investing in that. So saving incremental stuff is a really good thing. Make weird sounds with your mouth. Oh boy, I gotta get started now. What does it mean by that? At least for me, it's true, and I told you that whenever I communicate how certain motions should be, I also use my voice, and I make weird sounds like, okay, imagine it's flying in like, and then it stops like, and on the other side, we want to have this lead, okay? Yeah, you can laugh, it's okay, but listen, hold on before I start yelling. If you make a sound with your noise, it really helps the other side to receive the vision you have of the motion. Because it's not only a, it's a, all right, it's weird, I know, you can make jokes later, it's okay. But really, it helps. If you overcome that certain amount of shame that comes with making weird sounds with your voice, it will help everybody. Number 2, document your animation. Oh my God, I thought you were a designer. Why'd you talk about documentation, man? It's like, yeah, I know. To be honest, I not always document everything, but if we're talking about getting into larger corporations where you have to really communicate with a lot of teams, different agile teams that work in different sprints and different timings, blah, 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 you all know how it goes, then it definitely makes sense to document your stuff. Sometimes having a little motion system on like this, like showing a curve, showing a time, showing the frequency, or showing a different velocity to the developer and how it behaves can save you hours and hours of meetings and Skype sessions. See those gray hairs? I've been in a lot of meetings trying to explain people what they should do, and every time you send something that is not documented, it will fail. The more you can do from your designer side, because you are the guy having the vision, the more you can do to deliver to the other side, coding your stuff, give it to them. Make descriptions, how it should behave. Make little snippets of animation. Give them a function curve. There are tons of information out there that you can use that developers can instantly implement. I know you're not a developer. If you don't like developing at all, it's okay. Just be assured the more you do on your side, the less issues you will run into. And number 1, record yourself and perform like you mean it. Have you ever recorded yourself during whatever you're trying to do, like acting in front of a camera? Did you ever try it? Yeah, I see some people like, yeah, I tried, but sometimes in the shower. No? Okay. If you start recording yourself, like you don't have to put dots in your face and use high-tech stuff, but if you try to become what you animate, if you think you are, I'm not talking about method acting right here, you don't have to go to New York and try to learn stuff like that, but if you try to put empathy into something and you've written a little character sheet for your animation and the elements that is using that animation, it makes sense sometimes to try different expressions, maybe in front of a mirror, or record your performance. Hollywood blockbuster animators, they record themselves before they animate. Pixar animators do that. Why shouldn't we? There's no reason. You can always record yourself. And just don't animate the dialogue, be the dialogue. Okay, you should go like, okay, the dialogue is no, dialogue is not important, but what I'm trying to say, the point here is, if you try to build empathy with your dialogue, you may fulfill a better purpose on how it should behave and how it should interact with your users on the other end. And I'm talking about the animation part of it. And to further express my point with record yourself and perform like you mean it, because we are 1 minute to the end, I have prepared a little movie, and it's really cool.
Feeling that maybe that thing watching you is a giant elephant.
Oh, there can't be people that small. And the first guy would say, are you calling me a liar? And the second guy would say, if the shoe fits, wear it. And now the fists are flying, and the first guy picks up a brick. And you might want to zip up the pouch for this next part. All right, fat boy, you want some of that? What?
I'd do it myself, but being a lady, I prefer not to get my hands dirty.
I'll just be quiet now.
You know, sometimes you get too tired to sleep. You get past the point of no return. Kind of feel like that right now. But anyway, I'll shut up.
Not quite.
How about now? Is this better?
Yeah, sort of.
Come in, Mayor.
Kinda losing you. Whoa!
So, and with this, I would like to thank you for participating in my talk, and I wish you a happy UX Day.